Earth to Rick the Dawn. We need you.
Yo, it's very clear. The next super fight on the women's side has to be Shadasia Green versus Claressa Shields. Pretty simple, right? Look, they got the same record. Shadasia Green is 16-1. Claressa Shields is 16-0. The biggest difference that to me makes this intriguing is that Claressa Shields is 16-0 with 3 KOs. Shadasia Green is 16-1 with 11 KOs. That means that Shadasia Green she has knockout power. She's scary. She's ferocious. And it's not every day that someone calls out Claressa Shields. So for her to be 16-1, 11 KOs, and be calling out Claressa Shields, to me, that tells me she's of the ilk of Claressa Shields. And I'm going to be real with you. The very, very first boxer that came to mind when I saw Shadasia Green was Ann Wolfe. All right? Ann Wolfe, real talk. And we know that Layla Ali is someone that is piquing Claressa Shields' interest, but let's face it, that fight is not going to happen right now. If it were going to happen, it's going to happen in 2026. But I think this is a fight for right now. Shadasia Green versus Claressa Shields. That's the one right there. Shadasia Green just unified the women's super middleweight division, if I'm not mistaken. She got all the belts there. And then you have Claressa Shields, who just unified the heavyweight division. This is a super fight. Even if people are not talking about it, even if people don't know it, this is the fight that I want to see. Look, no one's calling out Claressa Shields. That's just not what happens, but she just did it. Shadasia Green just did it. And let's face it, Claressa Shields ain't backing down from nobody. And that's not me trying to pump up a fight. That's just what I've noticed. Anytime somebody decides to go fight in MMA when they're a boxer, that person is down for whatever. And I think that this is the fight that everyone wants to see, and I think this is the fight that needs to happen. What do you think? Yeah, that was yesterday. That was yesterday. I just saw the Claressa Shields, Lonnie Daniels highlight. I was a little upset with this pick, mainly because I didn't feel like it pushed or challenged Claressa Shields in the right way. Lonnie Daniels is 37, really not known for KOs. And when you watch the fight, Lonnie Daniels, you can clearly tell that the game plan was to stay away from Claressa Shields. It was to use the entire ring. That was the initial game plan. And that game plan started to break down and deteriorate as the fight progressed because Lonnie Daniels is a fighter. And what happened, from what I could see, is that the ego became a thing. Like, hey, I want to fight with Claressa Shields. I don't want to run from her. Like, that seemed to be what capsized Lonnie Daniels and their team's game plan. And when she stood in front of Claressa Shields, she was getting tagged. She was getting gutted. All that stuff is true. She was getting a couple punches here and there. All that is true. But let's be very clear. Lonnie Daniels is past her prime, in my opinion, because I think once you maybe get past about, age 35, it started to kind of decline as a fighter, in my opinion. Another thing about Lonnie Daniels that I don't feel really pushed Claressa Shields, besides the running, is the fact that Lonnie Daniels tends to, duck her head down. So what was happening was Claressa Shields was kind of clipping her with elbows, hitting her in the back of the head. And these were some issues, in my opinion, that were the fault of Lonnie Daniels and her fighting style. That being said, I saw a pace that I wasn't comfortable with when it came to Claressa Shields. Here's why I say that. Because Claressa Shields has gotten so good as a fighter and she's so tough. I don't think she had any fear whatsoever that Lonnie Daniels could even touch her. So you can tell from round one, she was just trying to get the fight over with. Like, let me just get my money real quick. Let me get this fight over with and let me move on. That's what I was able to read from body language. And in doing so, it made some moments of the fight for Claressa look a little sloppy because she's trying to get this girl out of here. And it didn't help that Lonnie Daniels is a runner, which only made, or looked like it made, Claressa Shields more anxious. Like, all right, she's running. I need points. It just seemed like a lot was being done there mentally. Towards the end of the fight, Lonnie Daniels started to stand in front of Claressa. Now, here's the biggest thing. For whatever reason, it just seems to me that she should have been able to get her out of there. I mean, it's a juxtaposition of being able to stay away from damage via running and ducking and all this other stuff, and also being able to pick and pop your shots. I think that Lonnie Daniels, as of yesterday, and even as of today, she only had 1 KO. And that's just from being a pure boxer. Like, to me, the people are wanting to see a fight like a Layla Ali versus Claressa Shields, a fight like Shadasia Green versus Claressa Shields. This is why we were so excited to see Danielle Perkins, because we felt like Claressa Shields could be tested because of the power of Danielle Perkins. Now, unfortunately, Danielle Perkins lacked experience and boxing prowess. You know what I mean? She had power and intimidation, and that was big. That got rid of a lot of opponents. That being said, Shadasia Green, in my opinion, is the best possible fight for Claressa right now. And I think everybody is saying that. Do I think that Shadasia Green can beat Claressa Shields? Here's the thing. I think in a simulation of 100 fights, Shadasia Green would get some of those wins. I don't think it would be a 100-0 sweep in a simulation where Claressa Shields and Shadasia Green fought 100 times. I don't think that it would be a clean sweep 100-0, because you got to understand something that I'm starting to see. Claressa Shields is becoming bigger and bigger as a star, and what happens when that happens? Their head gets big, their ego gets big, they start to lose focus. Like the Claressa Shields I saw against Lonnie Daniels, to me, did not look like the crisp and prepared and afraid Claressa Shields I saw against Danielle Perkins. Like, Claressa Shields brought in a different type of mentality against Danielle Perkins, because I think that Claressa Shields, she played that fight out in her head against Danielle Perkins, and in that vision, she saw a couple instances where she got hit, she got knocked down, and that just made her more prepared. I don't think that in all the mental exercise that Claressa did in her preparation for the Lonnie Daniels fight, she ever seen Lonnie Daniels hurting her. Like, come on, you can't outbox Claressa Shields. You can't do it. Now, even though Claressa Shields' body type looks like she's a bruiser, a big, muscle, powerful, whatever, to me, Claressa Shields is a boxer first. I think that she was trained to be a boxer. I don't think that she came in with this God-given strength to knock out women. I think she came in with very raw ability to fight and brawl, and then her coach was able to refine that and turn her into a straight boxer. And then, of course, over time, that power came a little bit later, and hence her record. 17-0, 3 KOs. So, I just didn't think that at any point Lonnie Daniels could really hurt Claressa Shields. That being said, in a simulation between Claressa Shields and Shadasia Green, 100 fights in the simulation, I'm telling you, man, I think that Shadasia Green would probably win about 30 of those fights. And that's something to be said. And I might be underselling Shadasia Green, because Shadasia Green has 11 KOs. Now, I did look at some of the opponents of Shadasia Green, and she had a couple decent fighters in that mix. So she hasn't just beaten all these journeywomen. She's beaten some really decent fighters. And when you compound that with the fact that she's actually looking to fight Claressa Shields, which nobody is. I don't even want to fight Claressa Shields. So the fact that she's actually calling her out, to me, let's get it popping, man. Like, yeah. And I also wanted to give Claressa Shields some praise, because she's doing what a lot of boxers are not doing. She's fighting more than one time in a single year. So, for me, I thought that was really dope. The fact that she fought in February and now she's fighting again here in July, that's awesome. That shows me that she's active, and I really hope that she fights again before the year is out, because look, I looked at Claressa Shields' numbers yesterday and I said to myself, why is her record only 16-0? This is yesterday. Like, by this point, it just seems to me that Claressa Shields should have 20 plus fights on her resume if she really wants to challenge herself, and I think she does, right? And you could argue that the MMA fights does raise her profile in terms of the number of fights, but I'm talking about boxing exclusively. And what's starting to worry me is that people will start to create the narrative that she's fighting old boxers. Okay, she fought Danielle Perkins. She was almost, 40? I forget. Then Lonnie Daniels, 37. And then the fact that she's calling out Layla Ali, or rather they're calling each other out, Layla Ali being 47. I think that the reason people want to see the Shadasia Green fight is because, one, they think that this is the perfect time to catch a Claressa Shields. Look, we've seen this happen with all the big heavyweight fighters. I'll start with Mike Tyson. He looked unbeatable, kind of like a Claressa Shields, ironically. But what happened though, right? It was that one moment where Mike wasn't on his A game that he got clipped. And why wasn't he on his A game? It's pretty clear. And before I tell you why it's pretty clear, let's go to another boxer, Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder was unbeatable, untouchable And I remember that one fight where he comes into the ring and he knocks that one guy, the guy with the dreads, the long dreads. I should know his name. I don't. But he was like, he knocked him out in like 0 seconds. He fought him the first time. The fight. Tell me if you know what fight I'm talking about, or the fighter. Deontay Wilder fought him the first time and went the distance, and he was the guy got the yapping saying I'm missing that. So they ran it back and he laid them flat in like what was it, like round one. And I remember the guy like basically back dancing on the ropes and like you know what I mean. So that's how terrifying Deontay Wilder was. But what happened? What happened? His profile got bigger. His name got bigger. He's getting more sponsorships, and he loses focus against none other than Tyson Fury. So look, the question for me is, and the question I keep asking myself is Shadasia Green, Claressa Shields, Buster Douglas, or Claressa Shields, Tyson Fury? Is Shadasia Green, Claressa Shields' wake-up call? And what I'm hoping, and I think this is going to happen, I think that Claressa Shields is going to realize, like, wait, she's going to balance things out because you can't help it. Fame is a drug. So as you become more famous, you got movies out. It's not uncommon for you to lose a little focus. And I'm just hoping that Claressa Shields rebalances the checkbooks. Rebalance is the word I want to use here because I think that it's probably a little imbalanced. She's getting people out of here. She's unified the heavyweight division. It's extremely easy to lose focus. She got a new relationship. It's a lot going on in her camp. And her entourage is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because that's what comes along with winning, right? But Shadasia Green's a little different, right? And here's why. She's not something that Claressa Shields can't handle. Like, come on, let's be realistic. Like, she's the GOAT for a reason. However, Shadasia Green is undefeated, and she also unified the super-middleweight division. And Shadasia Green is actually hunting the hunter. It's terrifying to even think about. You know what I mean? It's like, what's bigger than a lion in the jungle? Well, big ups to the GOAT for beating Lonnie Daniels. She should have knocked her out. It got to a point where I was like, it's kind of like, because I hate the argument that Claressa Shields doesn't have power because she proved that against Daniel Perkins that she does. Still, a smaller fighter was able to stand right in front of her because at some point she just got tired of running. But she stood right in front of her and she exchanged. And I just saw those pillow punches again where Claressa Shields is tagging her, but it just doesn't seem like those punches are moving Lonnie Daniels back. And because Lonnie Daniels is just not a Daniel Perkins, I'm just not sure that before she came to the ring or as she prepared for this fight, Claressa Shields put that knockout punch in her bag. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're preparing for Daniel Perkins, you're loading your bag and your circumference with all these different tools that you're gonna need to get and survive this fight. That being knockout power, apparently, in that fight. I'm not sure that she brought that with her against Lonnie Daniels. If you take the Claressa Shields from the Daniel Perkins fight and place her, just take her out the ring against Daniel Perkins and place her against Lonnie Daniels would have got knocked out. So it becomes this measure of focus, in my opinion. It becomes a measure of focus. Maybe she wasn't as focused. Maybe she just wanted to get this fight out the way because she didn't really see her as a real big deal. And maybe this is what happens. This fight to me looked like what happens when a boxer looks past a boxer. This is what that looked like to me. I think if you take the Claressa Shields versus Daniel Perkins and you place her in front of Lonnie Daniels, she knocks Lonnie Daniels out. I think this version of Claressa Shields would have done worse against Daniel Perkins. Right now, she's moving at a pace that is extremely intense. She has a lot going on, and I just don't want the GOAT to get caught on a bad night. The fact that Mike Tyson lost against Buster Douglas, I don't think if you run that fight in 100, like a simulation of 100 times, I don't think Buster Douglas wins that fight 100 times. I just think that it was that one night, that one moment, that one time that, that glimmer of light, that glimmer of hope. Buster Douglas had lost his mother not long before that fight. Like, it was just all the moment, everything just synchronized perfectly for that moment to happen. And I just don't want that to happen to the GOAT because she is building her profile so magnificently and, dare I say, carefully. Like, I'm not saying she's picking opponents because she's not. She's one of the dogs that doesn't pick her opponents. That being said, it's still being cultivated in a way that is extremely impressive, and important. And I'm telling you, if the wrong version of Claressa Shields steps into a fight with Shadasia Green, she could lose. Okay? Shadasia Green is the only fighter out currently that I think could really give Claressa Shields a challenge. Okay? I want to be very clear. I don't think she could win. I don't think she would beat a really focused Claressa Shields at all. However, I do think she can beat a Claressa Shields that is not quite, in the right headspace due to various factors. One thing that's important, and one thing that I noticed that I was like, you know what? Okay. I looked at one of those big fights from Shadasia Green. She also beat Savannah Marshall. Savannah Marshall, up until the Shadasia Green fight, had only lost to Claressa Shields. She came into that fight at 13-1. And Shadasia Green was able to beat her. That's important. That's important to note. That's important to note. Because for the longest time, Savannah Marshall was seen as the equal or even the superior to Claressa Shields. Now, Claressa Shields and everybody that was in her camp and people like myself, we didn't believe that. But that was the noise that was, being purported. That was what was being said. Shadasia Green beat her. Okay? It's a super fight. And the fact that Shadasia Green has unified the super middleweight division, that's important. Now, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Claressa Shields to take some time and not, really pursue this fight because it's a such thing called build-up, which is why I appreciate this fight against Lonnie Daniels. It allows her to stay active while some of this narrative starts to build around some of these other fighters like a Layla Ali or, a Shadasia Green. So I do understand that. Some fighters just sit on the sideline and wait for the noise to make itself. But while the noise is being propagated, Claressa Shields is staying active. And that's why I think she's, I don't think this is going to be a problem. I think she beats Shadasia Green pretty handily because she's still, moving and still staying active. She's not sitting and relaxing and allowing her record to speak. No, she's going out there and speaking for herself. It's not about her past achievements. Because you could argue that after beating Danielle Perkins, Claressa Shields should have just taken a break. But that's what the average person does. And Claressa Shields is anything but average. That's what I've learned. But I would be remiss to not note the fact that as a supporter of Claressa Shields, I'm seeing some things that's scaring me. Okay? Some things that scare me. She's human. Okay? So, at the end of the day, anybody can be caught off guard. This is boxing, man. Muhammad Ali is considered the greatest of all time. And he has several losses on his resume. So boxing is different. You can be the best and lose. But I'm telling you, I don't think that Claressa Shields wants to learn. I don't think she ever wants to lose because Claressa Shields has grown in the Floyd Mayweather era. That's what she came up in. And that is so important. It's so important. Sponsors, fans, it's so important. And I just don't want to see her get clipped because she's a little unfocused. But here's why that will never happen. I'm going to tell you why it will never happen. Because Claressa Shields, she prepares for her opponents almost to a fault. When she prepared for Danielle Perkins, it was just a different level of intensity there. That intensity wasn't there for Lonnie Daniels for good reason. Lonnie Daniels is a little older. She doesn't really have knockout power. So Claressa Shields knew that in order to lose this fight against Lonnie Daniels was going to have to outbox Claressa Shields. Never going to happen. Like, one thing that won't happen is Claressa Shields will get outboxed. That will never happen. Okay? The only way that Claressa Shields could ever lose a fight is if she's not focused and she gets knocked out. And she gets clipped. And in a sport like boxing where hundreds of punches come past your face, it is not impossible to think that one of them can hit you at the right spot at the right time. And one thing about getting punched and getting knocked out, you can't control it. If you get hit the right way at the right time in the right spot, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going down. But I don't worry about any of that because if the fight were on today, Claressa Shields would prepare for Shadasia Green the way that she's supposed to. So while I do see that she's losing focus in some regard, but that's because I'm looking at the Claressa Shields versus Lonnie Daniels. There's no doubt whatsoever that if Claressa Shields were to fight Shadasia Green or Layla Ali, her whole camp, everything would change. She would morph into something different. This is the whole purpose and point of making this video, to provide the boxing community that's watching the same things I'm looking at, to kind of push back, to agree, disagree, to comment, to make counterpoints, to make other points that don't counter, but just their own separate points. Like, I kind of want this video to be a hub for some of that conversation. Shadasia Green, does she stand a chance? I think she does. Small chance, but a chance nonetheless. Thank you for watching.